Hi, I'm Stephanie from Renovation Bay-Bee, and today I wanted to show you how we made a little wildlife pond. Now, it's not a huge space, it's not a huge pond, but it's something that we wanted to place in to bring in more wildlife into the garden and add a little bit of interest into our new pagoda area that we've built in our garden. Now, we wanted to kind of make it like a bit of a secret cosy area, so once all the plants are grown up and the wildlife come in, I think it'd be a really beautiful area to sit in. So this was the space that we started with, completely empty. It used to be an old play area for the children, so then we've made it a bit more of a grown-up space. So we created this pagoda in here first, and then we did all the landscaping for that, so it was all under the ground and things like that. Then we started working on digging out the pond. So you need to figure out your drop, so you need to have a runoff for the wildlife that goes in but can't swim. They need to be able to swim out or to be able to come up the side. So think about your levels, think about your angles as soon as you're planning all of this. So you want to start with a higher end, and we wanted to create like a waterfall effect, as you saw with the rocks. So we had a higher end that then sloped down to the small runoff. So start digging out your space. Now, we did this in levels, so this was the first level. You want to create shelves for the plants to be able to go on, and different levels for the wildlife. And then to the right hand side here, you'll see we've created a slope so that the animals can get out. It's recommended around at least 60 centimetres deep, so we've gone for about 2 foot deep in the middle. And then we've got our runoffs to the sides, we've got our slopes around the edges, and where we can put our plants and our rocks and create a different level looks. So we actually lined ours first with sand so that it was all nice and smooth. There wasn't any rocks or stones or sharp things in the bottom of the soil, like at the bottom of the pond, before we start putting any protective layers on. So this just gave it a nice, soft, smooth area. The next layer is like a fleece sort of liner. Now this, we sort of doubled it up on ours, but it also protects any stones from piercing the actual waterproof pond liner, which is what's next. So you want to make sure that it's pushed down as far as you can, sort of folded into the gaps, pushed into the gaps, before you start filling it up. And then when you fill it up, the water will actually push out all the creases and things like that and flatten it all out. Now, best off to use rainwater. However, we did this when it was a heat wave and there was no rain for months, so we filled it up with water from the hose before we had our hose pipe ban. So then we used the rocks around the edges just to kind of give it a little bit of support so it wasn't flapping around, trim off any excess. This is obviously not all tidied up properly. And we were just letting everything settle and just left the water for a little while just to push all the creases out and to make it nice and neat. So this was our space we left. All of this is going to be gravelled, so we needed to think about how the pond was going to blend into the gravel and how we needed to make the pond liner and the weed membrane all work and things like that. So as you can see, it's here, it's all settling down. You can see under the water, you can see where it's all creasing, sort of here. That's where all the water's pushing it out, all the levels, all the liners. And then my husband's just cutting around the edges to get rid of most of the excess. Now I want to plant up around the edges, so I took my liner out from away from the edges as well, and I replaced it with weed membrane. So as you can see, we used the weed membrane, we just tucked it under the pond liner so that we've got a waterproof area, and then it blends into the weed membrane, which is obviously then permeable so the water can go through that. Now we wanted to add in a pump with a waterfall, so instead of having this actual fountain one, we decided to use this solar panel, one that doesn't require obviously any electric. It's got really long cables, so we're able to put it up onto the roof of our pagoda, run all the cables through into the pond. Now the pump of this fountain will take the water through the pump, out through the tube and out as a fountain. However, we've adapted it, so I'll show you that in a sec. So here's a solar panel. It comes with a little spike on the end, so we were able to place it nice and securely up on the roof. It hasn't blown away or anything like that so far. We've all been okay. So as you can see, it's up here. It gets plenty of daylight. It literally will work for hours. This is a really good one. The link is in the description box below. So then you can, all the actual sort of mechanism is all up through here, but all the cable we were then able to tack down the post of the pagoda, which down the back of them so you couldn't see. We laid them all over the gravel stones, and then we also placed another piece of liner over the top, weave membrane liner, so that we were given a bit of protection on the actual cables. Then we literally just stoned everywhere. We just put gravel all over this area, all up into the edges, and then we attached a piece of hose pipe to the pump. Instead of the actual fountain spout, we had put a hose pipe. We then able to run this hose pipe up out the pond, up our little hill that we created, and then over the rocks. But obviously you want to hide the hose pipe, so we used another piece of liner, which is, you need to use another piece of pond liner here, so obviously the water doesn't just seep off into the soil. And then just get creative, really, moving all the rocks and the little stones around and see what works for your space that you've got. Then we ordered some plants for our pond. I'll click the links below in the description box for you to have a look, and then it's just time to fill it up, really. So we had lots of little rocks, a bit of gravel within the runoffs, we had rocks around the sides, and we just put all the main ones in first, and then we started adding in the plants in between. So you kind of want to use those shelves that you've created when you were digging out the pond shape. And they could be wherever you want, it doesn't have to do the same route as us, they can be literally anywhere. And then you want to just fill in your pond plants. Now over on the blog post I've got the list of the pond plants we used, but you need to pick ones that are suitable for your area, where it is, how deep in the water they need to go. You need to have a balance between oxygenating plants and then different types of plants around the edges, floating plants. So it takes a little bit of planning, but it's beautiful once it's done. So get them all planted in, fill in the little gaps with the little stones, and the actual solar panel pump that we used can be used by this little remote control, and then it just creates a beautiful little trickle-in waterfall down all these rocks, and it just has worked perfectly. It's so peaceful. We can sit up in there on our pagoda and we watched the little dragonflies coming down, the birds come down to have drinks, and because we're in our little pagoda, they don't really pay attention to us. So I'm really looking forward to next year when all my plants have come out and they've grown, and I reckon that even more birds and wildlife will come. So we also need to make sure you maintain the water as well. To start off with, it's a little bit green. It's probably, I think that's our mistake between not getting the balance right of things. Some of the plants have died off, so it takes a bit of practice, and I think we'll get there. But yeah, I'm really pleased with our little area, and I hope you like it too, and good luck with building your wildlife pond. If you want to have a look at the blog post, please click the links below and go and have a little bit more of a read. So thank you.